I will call our Monday, August 5th council meeting to order. First note is, obviously, I am not Mayor Brandy Amadon. She is on vacation for the week. I am Mayor Pro Tem Grant Baumgartner filling in for her. Our second order of the day, Public Works Committee. Chair Lane, would you like to take that?
I call to order the Public Works Committee. President is myself, Catherine James, and Sherry Mara, and Director Tate. Oh, wait, sorry, motion to approve the July 8th, 2024 Public Works minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion. Second.
All approved. And Director Tate.
Good evening. I just want to kind of update on 3 items here. The Center Street repaving is complete. As a matter of fact, all those projects are complete at this time. Jay and I will be going out to meet the contractor and look at some striping options sometime this week, hopefully by Thursday. The permanent striping is about 3 to 4 weeks out. Recycle grant, we have been awarded a recycle grant through South Carolina DHEC, and we're looking at possibly bringing on a pilot program for some glass recycling. We had to amend the scope on that, so we're just waiting back for approval on that. So we have been awarded the money, but we're just waiting on the approval of the scope. Athens Park re-grand opening, we're looking at doing that September 19th at 5 o'clock. That's the regular council meeting, and I'm working with the community members over there, some members of Athens Baptist Church to kind of participate with us on that. That's all I have.
You've been very, very, very busy.
Yes,
So
busy time of year.
it is.
Busy
So
time of
thank
year.
you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Does anyone on the committee have any questions? Anyone on council?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Wayne.
Go ahead.
Let me go? All right. I meant to text you this morning, but on Center Street, off the road, it's not on the road, off the road, there's like looks like an 8-inch manhole cover that's just not there. It's a hole. So it's on, it's right in front of the Child's, right there. It's just
Thanks,
missing.
sir. I'll take a look
I
at
think
that.
it's probably all right, but if a bicycle runs over it, that's maybe trouble. But
Okay. I'll take a look
it's
at
a
that.
small, maybe 8
We'll
inches.
get that. We'll get that taken care of. Thank you, sir.
Yep,
What,
absolutely.
Yes, sir.
what were the basic gist of the road complaints? Just like what we got going on, or?
That was some of it. We've had a couple of people, high grass limbs. David knows the guys have been out trimming back some stuff. We also count some of the street signage, and if you look around, there's several of those signs going up. So all that's combined in that, sir.
Thank you.
I like the new street signs saying welcome to Travelers Rest too, so. And the only thing, the other week when I was at the farmer's market, the women's restroom sink sometimes, I guess, the faucet doesn't turn on. And from hearing people in the bathroom, I think that happens quite frequently. Is that correct?
Yes, and the sensitivity on that is being investigated.
Okay,
David and them's working with TNS Brass
okay.
on that to kind of get the final touch and adjustment on that so it works correctly.
Any other questions?
Philip, you said the scope on the glass recycling is waiting for approval. Is that from the vendor? Did we change something or?
I'm sorry, Councilman Baumgartner there. When we originally submitted the grant, we were looking at adding the recycle bins over on the other side, pouring some concrete, doing some upgrading over there. After we got the numbers back on that, we're going to be way short with a grant. There were 2 options there, a $50,000 and a $15,000. We were awarded the $15,000, and we're just way too short on that. So we had to resubmit the scope of the grant to include the glass recycling, and we had to provide the vendor. They had to know who the vendor was, and what it's going to be is a pilot program, and we'll do a per event price here if the grant is. We have been awarded the money. They just got to go through the finances with the scope of the grant.
Okay, thank you.
And that was submitted last Wednesday, I think.
Philip, I was going to ask, so I noticed the grant is through DHEC. When the glass is collected, where is it going? Because I know that Greenville County's not necessarily taking it in.
It's from a private vendor out of Pickens, Dacusville.
Okay,
They recycle it, and it's a real neat process. Some of it's used for sand on volleyball courts.
okay.
Shannon and I sat in with the provider there a couple of weeks ago with that.
Is this the same one that we're doing the event with that
Yes,
converted into
that is
sand?
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
That makes more, I was like, wasn't sure what was happening
Yeah,
with
no,
once
no.
they got collected, so
It
it's
is,
with
it
them.
is the same provider that we're doing the event with in October. And then if everything, moves forward, we'll be working with them for probably about 12 months on a pilot program.
Any other questions? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion. Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving on, public safety, Chair Byers.
Call to order the public safety meeting for August 5th. Present are myself, Wayne McCall, Sherry Merritt, and Brantley Vest. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from July 8th?
Motion to approve.
Second? Great. Okay, and we'll review the July public safety reports. We'll start with Chief Ford. Hello.
How's everyone?
Great. Anything you want to highlight for us?
Nothing specifically on the report, just wanted to mention we are glad to have Officer Edens back from his deployment, and he's back in his training. Never finished his training before he got deployed. So we have him back. We're certainly excited to have him back safe from overseas, and we hired one individual that started today, a former highway patrolman, that spent a little time there. So we're getting his feet wet now. So,
Awesome.
and we're just, we have one open position right now, so we're trucking along.
Great. And everything's good to go for National Night Out tomorrow?
Yes, Sergeant Lewis, Rob Lewis has done an excellent job. Teresa, Renee, they've also helped. A lot of people have put a lot of effort into planning this, so we're looking forward to it.
Awesome, thank you. Does anyone on the committee have questions for Chief about the police report?
I was going to ask you, so I noticed that the total calls are doubled and we're in August. So can you tell me what your thoughts are on what's going on, why, in general speaking?
A lot of it is more proactivity on our part. When we're out there being more proactive with traffic enforcement, we're running into a lot of other things that are going on, such as drugs, DUIs, things like that. So proactiveness of the officers is causing some of that. Some of it is the growth of the city, obviously, more people here on the weekends and events and things like that. So I can attribute most of it to that, to traffic enforcement is going to be most of that. I can certainly have a breakdown for you if you like.
I was just curious, being August, that was a lot. So do you feel like the force needs to grow because of that, or do you feel you're good?
I feel like we've been growing, the force has been growing the past few years, and I think we should continue that as the city grows. So I don't think that one is growing too fast for the other at this point.
Okay.
We're just kind of just keeping up and being a little more proactive with it. And the positive, the positive aspect of being proactive is letting individuals know that don't bring your drugs through our city. Don't come in our city to look to commit crimes. As far as violent crime, and that's still really, really low. So I don't see the growth of the city feeding into the violent crime or that type of situation, which is great.
Yeah.
If I were to break that number down, most of it's going to be traffic enforcement.
Okay.
Wayne, did you have a question?
I do, kind of piggybacking on what she said, Benji. On Main Street, just the citations and warnings, only 31 for speeding? Is that a sign that people are actually paying attention and slowing down, or is that you focus somewhere else?
Well, we're focusing some on Highway 25 too, and the reason we're focusing there is because that's where our serious collisions are
I
occurring.
understand that too.
So we're trying to divide between the two and keep Main Street slowed down, but also slow some of that down on Highway 25. So Shannon and I have talked about, as we grow, about having a traffic unit that's dedicated, because these officers, once they're responding to calls, they can't dedicate their time at traffic. So we may be able to specialize as we grow. You know, when we have a 16-man department as of a few years ago, it's hard to have specialized units because you're small and you cover what's necessary. But as you grow, and we're up to 24, when you grow a little bit, we can have specialized teams that can focus their efforts on wrecks and traffic and enforcement, and that frees up our other officers to handle those calls.
Kind of along what you're saying there, I know the state used to do it like every year, would have a grant for a traffic officer.
Yes, sir. So they don't do that anymore.
They don't?
What they do is what's called an overtime grant. So they will reimburse us the overtime cost as many hours as our officers want to work overtime. And in the past 3 years, we've been granted 80,000, 60,000, and another 60,000 if we can use it all. We've never come close to using all of that, simply because the officers get overworked and they don't want to work every single day. But a lot of the officers have worked a lot of that overtime grant. That's why the budget numbers last year showed well over budget and overtime. A lot of that's still going to be reimbursed to us.
It was covered through the grant process.
Yes, yes. So that in lieu of the one officer that they provide for traffic, they're providing an overtime grant now. So they've changed their way of doing things.
Now, we also received a traffic grant for enforcement also, haven't we?
No, that's what I'm speaking of.
That's what you're talking,
Yes, sir.
okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
those figures are actually included in the figures that we've got here also.
They
So-
are, they
So
are.
that's some of the increase that Sherry's asking about, or those. actual numbers.
Absolutely, it would be. That would be the officers that are working extra days and extra hours, and we're creating more cases. And yes, that would create a lot of that increase.
Is that overtime grant applicable to carry on, or does it have to be used in a certain time frame?
So we have to apply for it yearly as they offer it. And I think this year it was around 60,000, give or take. And we work it and pay the officers and submit the statistics and the amount of hours worked to the state, and then they reimburse us. And it goes October 1 through September 30th.
Okay.
So as far as they'll offer it again this year, with the blessing of Shannon and council, I'll apply for it again.
I had a question the other day from a citizen about Tubbs Mountain Extension.
Yes, sir.
Is it 35 or is it 25?
It's 35. Our sign,
That was the whole point of the question.
yeah, the sign, we weren't able to change at the time. It was a rush to get it out there, then we kind of just forgot about it, that it was on 25. The lady that came to the meeting actually mentioned that. She sent me an email, and she mentioned the difference, and she said, well, don't worry about it, it's working great. So I said, okay, we'll just leave it at 25.
Well, I was gonna say, it's working, it seems to be working, but I did have that question.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it is 35, yes, sir.
Okay.
So are you gonna pull people for going over 25, but under 35?
No,
Okay.
20, it just tells their speed. So what we put out there just tells them what their speed is. So if it shows
Oh, I haven't seen, you're talking about the,
blinking
trailer.
trailer,
Okay,
yes, ma'am,
gotcha,
yes,
gotcha.
ma'am.
So if this is reimbursed back to us on a yearly basis, correct?
Yes, sir.
Are those numbers, Shannon, credited back into the previous year's budget when we do get reimbursed back on them?
Councilman Baumgartner, yes, and that has not happened yet. So when we sent out the financials, we said there's a 60-day period for us to credit back, and so that will go in.
So that's one of the points that we were talking about, that in the previous years, it ends in July, yes, or June actually, but it's not
Correct.
actually straightened out for several months after that point.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else on council have questions? Great, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. I'm back.
Fire department.
Yes. Questions
Anything-
from the report?
Does anyone on council or on committee have questions for Mac?
If not, I got a few things, but
Okay, anyone on council? All right, let's hear it.
Just to let you know, the fire department has been busy. I looked today, we're at call number 760, which is 148 calls above where we were this time last year. 106 of those calls are multi-calls at the same time, which is about 13% of our calls. There's one truck going here and one truck going here. So that's getting a lot busier with, there's no real rhyme to the reason there. It may be an EMS call here, it might be an alarm call here. I mean, there's no way to figure, excuse me, figure exactly why it's more than, but it is growing. Just to let y'all know, we did have a mutual aid or automatic aid response with North Greenville this last week. Probably some of you've been asked questions about it. It was over on Round Hill over here in Green Valley. There's actually 6 fire departments there, all the way from the city of Greenville to us there. It's hot. There was 36 firemen there, plus 4 EMS people and all. Started about 5:30 or so, and we were there till after 10 o'clock. So we responded 1 engine to that, which keeps an engine in the city. We backfilled the other engine that we have. So the city's still covered, but those calls are, especially while it's hot, those calls are going to be more and more and more, and they're longer because, I mean, guys, when they get to that second or third air bottle, they're done. So we got a good EMS response for them, so they're there to help our guys out. But it's a lot when it's hot. To let y'all know, we had, and I think it was already been put in your monthly newsletter, but we did have 3 of us that went to National Academy this last month. The National Academy is in Emmitsburg, Maryland. The great thing about the National Academy is they reimburse us for everything but meals. So when you go, they reimburse you for everything. And they have 6-day classes. They have 10-day classes and on out. But we're going to send some more people. It's a good environment. It's an old Catholic school, and so it's where FEMA is actually housed also. So it's a good experience.
20 minutes from Gettysburg, too.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's the first time I went. We went over to Gettysburg one night for supper. We just skipped supper at school and went to Gettysburg, but it's real close. Also, we had an event with Furman. The Triumph soccer team did a public safety game. So they had called and we set up, we have a big flag that goes with our ladder truck and all, and so we put up a flag for it. And also one of our captains, Josh Almeida, received a plaque for his service with the community that day. So that was taken care of there. And that's all I got.
Great. Thank you, Mac.
What departments do we have mutual aid agreements with?
We have we have mutual aid agreements with everybody in the county.
Okay, but I mean,
Automatic aid agreements, the way it works is we run off of what's called closest unit. So like West Round Hill over here the other night, we would be second due to North Greenville. That end of Green Valley is in North Greenville's district. The other end is in Duncan Chapel's district. If you're on the bypass out here, it's us in Duncan Chapel. So it's kind of, according where the call is. But everywhere around us, we have automatic aid agreements with, and everybody in the county, we have mutual aid. So as you can see, a city of Greenville fire truck was at that call. So we reached out that far, so it helps.
oh, like Berea down on the south end, down like Duncan Chapel?
Yeah, we had a Brea engine there the other night. We had a Parker engine there, a City of Greenville engine there, one of ours, North Greenville, yeah. And we backfill too when those things happen. Like if Slater and everybody north goes out, then we'll backfill with an engine with that. And of course, they backfill us too, so everybody's always covered.
Good deal.
Good thing.
It's a good thing.
Thanks, Mac.
Thank you.
The building report and municipal court report look pretty standard. Anything you want to highlight, Shannon?
Councilman Byers, no, it is a pretty standard, actually pretty much right on the mean curve
Okay.
this month.
Does anyone on committee have questions about either of those reports? Anyone on council? All right, motion to adjourn.
Motion.
All right, moving on, planning and development. Chair Vest.
Councilman Baumgartner, I'm not sure we got a second.
Oh,
Second. Thank
Got
you,
one now.
Sherry.
Thank you, sorry about that. Rushing on to get over to Brantley.
All right, call to order, Planning and Development Committee, meeting, members, present, myself, Brantley Vest, Grant Baumgartner, Kelly Byers, and Sherry Mara. Looking for an approval of the minutes from July 8.
Motion to approve.
Thank you,
Second?
thank you. All right, Jay, anything you want to highlight on the report? I did see that we got some civil drawings on the East Bowers. That was included in our report, but anything you want to highlight on the
Yeah,
development report?
the East Bowers, basically, they have the final development plan and the statement of intent were approved. And the same evening, the preliminary plat was approved. So they're moving forward now with their engineering drawings. They'll go to land development. And so it's gonna be 60 or 90 days until we see any dirt moving out there, but that'll be the next process for them. The preliminary plat was approved for the Hemlock Place as well. That only applies to the single-family attached section and not to the apartment section. We're still dealing through the review of that. I doubt they're going to proceed to engineering without both of them going at the same time. It just won't make sense to do so. There's a rezone for 306 South Main Street. It'll come to y'all. The next meeting, it'll be the first reading on that. It's going from a residential zoning to C2. It's on Main Street beside C2, so that's coming. And then I wanted to make a couple reports. White Hawk Meadows, they've put down the first layer of asphalt down there. And so they've sent the plat for Phase 1. We're in the middle of review. Once it's approved and they record the plat, then they can start to request building permits, and you'll see houses start up there. Spring Park, I went out there today. We did a proof roll, and they should be paving tomorrow. They're trying to get it in before rain later this week. Proof roll went good, and so you see pavement going down, and what that means is as soon as they get pavement down, they're going to go through all the check marks to get their final plat going so they can start building out there. And that's the things I had to add.
Anyone on committee have questions for Jay?
Jay, I'm curious, the 306 on Main Street?
Yep.
Is that zoning just for the house, not the lot beside it? I didn't know if they were co-owned by the same person, if that's like a,
So
One thing.
the lot beside it is
the corner.
owned by a separate LLC, but is the
Okay.
same person. That lot is already zoned C2.
okay,
And so this one is not. And so the girl, lady, probably, who's going in there is going to do a gift shop kind of thing. And so she can't do that in the residential zoning, so that's why we're going to C2 there.
okay. So are they planning on using that lot beside it?
They're not using the
It'll
lot
stay
beside them right
green,
now.
okay.
So when she comes in, everything for parking, all that is going to be reviewed based off what is there.
Okay.
And any signage, anything like that will have the standard review. But until anything is applied for on the other parcel, there won't be anything about parking or anything like that. All of it will take place on the site of, what is that, 306 or?
Yep. All right, thank you.
Oh, help me out here a minute, Jay. I'm a little bit lost, which
Yes, sir.
I'm sure most people can realize that, but Spring Park, where is Spring Park? It says Highway 276. I know the Refuge is the
Refuge.
one that adjoins
That's right.
Glenview, correct?
Spring Park is the one that's associated with the assisted living. So the
Oh,
assisted
okay,
living, you go
okay,
down.
okay.
Yeah, and it's been a long, I was talking to the engineer, they're so ready to get it to the plating. I looked back, it was a 2021 approval. And so they're 3 years down the road. They ran into some rock they didn't know they were gonna have, had to reconfigure a stormwater pond because of the rock, all that kind of stuff. So they're ready to get it
So
done.
this will be
and-
basically adjacent to White Hawk Meadows, correct?
Across the
Across the
creek,
street,
basically,
okay.
from, yeah.
All right, I'm with you, and that makes sense. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone on council have questions for Jay? All right, if none, we can wrap it up. Anybody have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move that.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Ways and Means Committee, myself, Chair Kelly Byers, Lisa Lane, Wayne McCall, and Brantley Vest are all present. Do I have an approval to approve the minutes of the July 8th meeting?
Motion to approve.
Okay, got a second?
Second.
Thank you. Item C, the ARPA update. Let me give you a little bit of background on this so that those that may be listening have some understanding. We call this the ARPA. This is the American Rescue Plan Act funds that are given by the federal government, and they were given to cities and metropolitan areas at the end of COVID for stimulating the economy, actually. However, the monies that, Travelers Rest did receive some monies on that, but there are some very strict spending guidelines for these funds. City Administrator Shannon and Carson, you both have worked very diligently, I understand, to put together a comprehensive study about the use of these funds and what we have available and kind of where we're going from here, correct?
Chair Baumgartner, yes, and we appreciate the ability to bring this before you. As you will recall, the money came in at two different time periods, so you had 2021 and 2022 funds. And I apologize, it kind of got cut off in the margins there on the Excel sheet there, but a total of $2.661 million came in, and so that's what you see at the top. We actually fall into a category under $10 million where the funds can just be used for revenue replacement, which opens the door to the ways that these funds can be used. Originally, there were very specific programs to apply it to. Council and old Administrator Eric Vinson made an initial plan, and a fair amount of work has gone underway with that plan. So if we slide down the sheet, what you'll see here is the expenditures going out. Initially, you had your premium pay expenditure that went to employees who were working during COVID of $300,201.23. You also approved in the general fund, and that's under the administrator's budget, up to $90,000 of facade improvement programming. And what you see here is expenditures to date of $50,000 towards that $90,000. So that's pretty good, actually. I was excited to see that amount expended. We also have two applications, one that's ready for approval at $10,000. So that's going to go up immediately to $60,000, and then a couple others that have been approved, but the work has not been done. So we may get close to hitting that $90,000. This does become important if you slide down to the very bottom of that first column, the general fund column. You see there's a current total balance of $39,736 that needs to be expended. The rules for the ARPA is that we have to obligate those, and that doesn't mean that council obligates them. It means that we actually encumber the funds towards a project with an agreement or something of that equivalent value. So what we'll need to do is monitor this probably through October, put out a call. If you're doing a facade improvement, now's the time to get your application in, because anything that's not obligated with an approval, we'll need to fund something else with, or lose that money by December 31st of this year, 2024. We have until 2026 to spend the money, but it has to be obligated to very specific projects with quotes in hands. So we do need to get moving on that. If you slide to the right, you have your capital project account, and this is the funding that Administrator Vinson moved the vast majority of the funding, $2.271 million, into the capital funds account, which is permissible under the statutes of the Act. And projects that have been funded to date would be the sidewalk project at $16,000, the Athens Park upgrades at $75,000, Spring Park Inn parking lot at $340,000, the North Poinsett Highway Tubbs Mountain parking lot. This is design work that was done at $27,750. A little bit of the beginning portions of the Poinsett streetscape. This is monies that went to the Transportation Committee for our match funds at the beginning of the project, as well as some design work there you see at Phase 2. Paving and striping that just took place, the streets that were just this past week paved and striped That was $120,000. That money was match money for C funds. You also had general road paving at $150,662, and the grant to Harmony Ridge at $200,000. So a total expenditure to date of $1.294 million, which leaves a remaining balance, a total remaining balance of $1.016 million, and $976,807.12 of that we anticipate to come from the capital account. That's assuming we expend that $39,000 towards the facade improvement grant. So I have here a budget, and this is just following the capital improvement budget. It's a little bit more in the Poinsett Streetscape. Those funds are already encumbered. We have a participation agreement with C Funds that goes, as we discussed in our last meeting, up to $7 million. So we can easily expend these funds, this $965,307 towards it. That's a little bit extra. And then it's a little bit more than we had put in our CIP. I think our CIP was $865,000, do you remember? Or $850,000. I have to go back and look. I should have written that down. So it's a little bit more that we have, but we have plenty of room in that project to accomplish that. We have plenty of room in the fund to accomplish that. And then the deferred maintenance, which is the painting of the exterior of this facility at $11,500. So Philip's getting quotes in hand for that right now. So I'd be happy to take any questions at this point. I believe Councilmember Murrah, you requested that we get this in order, and I'm glad you did, because we are coming up on, we do have to have everything at least encumbered by December 31st of 2024. And this is our plan to accomplish that.
So the $39,000 that's remaining unspent, that can only be spent on facade improvement?
No, my suggestion would be that we get to, we do a call for, last chance to get your projects in on that, and then we would have to remove the remainder of that funding into, my suggestion would be the Poinsett project. We have plenty of room and plenty of encumbrance in there that we could put this towards, because you don't want to lose those funds. I still think we can do that project because we have room in the capital budget to accomplish that, but we would need to close out the ARPA component of this and open up just the administrative budget. It's in general fund budget to do it.
This isn't trying to short anybody anything at all on the facade
No,
improvement
I mean,
side.
I was just thinking like where the Poinsett project is so much more than we thought it was going to be. And I know 39,000 like barely scratches the 5 million over that it is, but I was wondering if there was a reason why we wouldn't just automatically put it in the Poinsett project budget.
Well, and as far as that goes, we could.
We could. The return I would have to that is we do have several projects that have been approved that haven't had the work done. So if they were moving forward, we would be able, if those projects are moving forward, we would be able to reimburse them per the original approvals. We can add that up and then go from there. I will say that this was not on the agenda as a motion, so if we want to put that on the agenda as a motion to reallocate those funds, we can do that at our next meeting, council meeting.
These funds, Grant, Shannon, are these funds in kind of any way, do they conflict, or for lack of better words, I guess, with like GCRA, like the facade improvement?
No, sir, that's a great question. GCRA has their own program for facade improvement, so
Okay.
these do not go towards that.
Well, so second part of the question, if somebody had applied for redevelopment or for facade improvement through GCRA, would they be entitled to apply for this as well?
Yes, sir, there's nothing in our program currently that would preclude that.
However, nobody has.
Yeah.
So my suggestion might be at this point, to Kelly, I like what you're saying, is we've got some projects out there that are still kind of, they're floating. Rather than opening this up for more projects, just going back to those few that have been approved and say, are you going to do it? Because we need a commitment that you're going to do it or not. And those that are not, we just add that back in and reallocate it.
Well, and like I said, to continue my question, would it be unethical to approach the people that had applied for a lesser amount for facade improvement if we have this money to spend? Could we say, would you consider applying for this as well, or is that something we need to do?
I would say if we've issued an approval letter, that we work with the applicant at that level, but, you know, to encourage others to pursue the redevelopment monies, as well as, you know, any grants we consider going forward. I do believe we have the money in our general fund to accomplish this, and council could, at a following meeting, could make a motion to use additional capital funding to complete the ARPA projects.
Will we have a deadline for people to apply for these funds so that it's not last minute, so we can make that decision closer to December?
We can. We could just follow up with the applicants that have been approved at this point,
That's kind of what
and have council make a consideration at one of our future meetings.
I like that idea that Grant had with that,
I'd say
too.
right now, I think we just
And
need
have
to
like a-
research it and see where it goes a little bit more.
So
And
all
give
the
them a
ones that
deadline.
you have on here, that money's been spent.
That money has actually been spent.
Yeah, there's $39,000 that has not been spent, but it's been allocated towards those projects. So, and you're right, that's not gonna make a huge dent in the dollar amount that we need for the Poinsett project, but anything that we could get and put that way is money, in my eyes, that's money well spent. Not that it's not here either, but if these people aren't gonna, if we're not gonna continue with the project, then we just need to know that. So we can look into that a little bit further and see what happens over the next several months and then make a decision.
And I think the 39,000 will make a really big dent for the businesses for whom would receive, you know, that more so than we would feel it in the Poinsett project budget. I was just curious about logistics of that.
Anybody else have any thoughts or statements at this point?
Just, do they know they have a deadline? That's the only, is there a deadline on the application where they know that it has to be like, they have to have a quote, it's obligated by this time? That's the only question.
I would say probably not. I mean, we probably need to do a good job of letting, well, it's easy to call the applicants who have the approval letters, right? And then if we were going to leave it, and we can put this before council at the next meeting, if we're going to leave it at the 39,000, we would need to put a deadline out there so that folks would know. And then if we were to reallocate it, that would just be a motion by council to amend the capital improvement plan to move funds in there.
We'll know more by this next meeting. All right, hearing nothing else, motion, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 6, old business, we have none. Item 7, new business, we have none. Item 8, miscellaneous matters, Administrator Herman, do you have anything?
Councilmember Baumgartner, thank you. Chief did mention National Night Out from 6 to 8 tomorrow. There will be inflatables, there will be games, there will be a candy drop, watermelon eating contest, hot dogs, chips and sodas, drunk driving prevention, obstacle course, and a PD tent with lots of giveaways. It should be a fun night. I know it's back to school or open house night, so hopefully folks come out right after that and enjoy all the festivities that are there. Also, I'm very pleased to announce we do have a part-time clerk's position that has officially been advertised today, and we already have resumes in the queue. So we're excited, and we hope to get a good participation on that.
All right, anything else? Does anybody on council have anything for the good of council?
Thank all y'all for what you do, all the way around the room. Thank you very much.
Well,
You too,
especially
Jay.
fire department, I know this was a big deal for you to cover this fire in Green Valley, so thank you. I'm glad we've got the agreements in place to share with other departments and whatnot. That's just proof that those agreements do work, so. I know that, but that's why it's just. Appreciate that. All right, hearing nothing else, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Can I motion to adjourn?
Have a second?
Second.
We are done.